what's going on, Fan Clan? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Phantom. This is a really weird introduction. It's nice to meet you. I hope you guys are doing well. I have two quick announcements before we jump into the actual nuts and bolts of the video. First of all, KurosioShop.com. So this is our new Japanese store. We now have Terrestrial Festival booster boxes up for pre-order. So you can go to, I will leave a link in the description down below. But $57.99 will get you a sealed box of Terrestrial Festival. You can buy 20 and that'll get you a sealed case. So those are up right now. This comes out December 6th in Japan, and we will get them like December 8th. So it's like 1 day shipping from Japan to us, and then we will get them shipped out. So they will ship to you on like the 8th, 9th, somewhere around that area. So this is the second set that we've done. We just did Super Electric Breaker recently. We do have a lot of other stuff on KurosioShop.com that's getting added all the time, including Pokemon Fits, blind boxes, other booster boxes, things like that. But Terrestrial Festival, obviously the new Evolution set that's coming out, there's a lot of hype behind it, a lot of question marks behind it. Now, we haven't gotten any real leaks as far as special art rares or anything like that, but we do know it's going to be catered to the Evolution set, and then we are going to be getting Prismatic Evolution. I think that's what it's called. Is going to be our English set come January. That's going to be a specialty set. So this will be a high class booster box. Basically what that means is you get 10 packs per booster box. Every pack is going to contain at least one ultra rare in it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this will be the next main series set that comes out in Japan. So you can go over to KurosioShop.com. Like I said, the link will be in the description down below, and you can put in your pre-order for Terrestrial Festival. I promise this logo is getting worked on. He just had an emergency come up. I wish it was going faster. I really do. But pre-order is now available. The other thing that I wanted to announce is important information for some people who might consider it important. I'm just going to share the information. You can decide whether it's important or not. This is the Trapos EX Ultra Premium Collection. This is just from TCG Player. I don't know why this information hasn't really been spilled out as of yet. I haven't seen a whole lot of people talk about it. But this was originally supposed to come out on like November 1st or 2nd, somewhere around there. You can see TCG Player does say estimated shipping date of November 1st. This has been delayed because of some delivery component. They always say a delivery component. I never know what that means. But this has been delayed from distribution. So LGS's, big box retailers, places like that who are expecting to, if you did pre-order this from somewhere, it is delayed like 3 weeks. I think November 22nd is the new street date release for Trapos EX. We've had this happen before. Specifically, probably the most notable one was with the Celebrations lunchbox tins. Those still made their way to the actual targets, even though there was an issue with the delivery component, and then they got delayed at like all the LGSs. And most recently with, I think it was the Shrouded Fable Elite Trainer box, where the Shrouded Fable Elite Trainer box was supposed to come out originally like on release day of Shrouded Fable, and they put the release date for the Elite Trainer box back a few weeks because of an issue with a component inside. So same thing is happening with the Trapos EX Ultra Premium Collection. This is going to be delayed to November 22nd. So if you did pre-order or plan on pre-ordering, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I don't know. That's up to you to decide. We're going to talk about something a little bit different today, kind of ease things up and just talk about something that's a little bit cool, something that you can do with your collection dollars if you so choose. Obviously, collecting booster boxes, collecting a sealed product can be a pain for a multitude of different reasons. One, because it does get expensive. There are a lot of booster boxes that are currently made, and if you're somebody who's like, hey, I want to collect one of every booster box, obviously you have some that are relatively inexpensive, like Paradox Rift, like Temporal Forces you can get for around $100, and then you have some that are super expensive, like you want to get an original base set box, okay, you're going to be dropping 12 to 15 grand. If you want to get a Team Rocket box, okay, you're looking at like 7,500 to 10 grand, depending on which variant you want. If you're somebody who just wants to collect a bunch of booster boxes, it can get really expensive. The other alternative that takes up less space is booster packs, and specifically art sets. You can get art sets of booster packs, so you can collect one of every booster pack if you're somebody who's like, hey, maybe I'll work my way up to booster boxes, or I just want to do something that takes up a little bit less space where I don't need this giant storage shed or storage unit to collect all my stuff. These look cool. Booster packs look cool, and some of them are starting to get a little pricey. We've seen some double-digit growth in a lot of booster packs over the past year, but here are a couple different examples that I just pulled off of Reddit that I think are pretty cool. Somebody did do like a binder. They do binder sheets and things like that that do fit booster packs, so you can put them in a D-size binder or something like that. This is actually a pretty cool thing. Shouldn't be impacted impacted by the actual rings because there's enough of a margin over here. So as long as you're careful with it, this is a cool thing. You can see the Brilliant Stars sampling pack. You can see the Evolving Skies sampling pack, and it's just kind of a cool different thing to do. There are displays that are made. This gets a little bit expensive if you decide to go this route, but Cosmic Eclipse art set looks really cool. This is actually really cool looking, that you can put on your wall. This person over here has a nice display with basically those floating shelves that they put up there. Really cool to look at. You can get sleeves. You can get just put a card saver behind them to properly protect them a little bit, give them a little bit more sturdiness. But just another cool thing that you can do as far as collecting goes. If you're somebody who's like, I don't really want to collect a bunch of singles, or maybe I only want to collect some singles, but I don't want to take up as much space or put in as much of an investment in my collection as what booster boxes would take up, here's another alternative. So we're going to talk about booster packs, and we're going to talk about like 15 of them that have there's a lot of them that have gone up, but we're going to just focus on 15 that have seen double-digit growth over the past year, starting out with Phantom Forces. And some of these are actually I don't want to say undervalued, but some of them will be popular for a long time. So we're just going to talk about like Phantom Forces, for example, was a wonderful set to open for a lot of different reasons. There was the Gengar in it, which is a super fan favorite. If you have ever been on this channel before, Gengar is a fan favorite Pokemon that always just continues to climb. Singles are always going to be a safe bet with Gengar. We have seen it happen with a lot of random Gengar cards like the Gengar and Mimikyu, regular RGX, which shot up to over $100 and then retraced back to $50. You've seen it with the regular Gengar EX from Phantom Forces. There's also the Mega Gengar EX from Phantom Forces in both a regular variant and a secret rare variant. But not only that, not only are there collectible chase Pokemon in Phantom Forces, it's kind of like the perfect set because it also has a ton of competitive cards in it. It's got cards like VS Seeker, it's got cards like Robo Substitute, and this was a big set for a lot of people when it comes to competitive play. And this is also a set that features a lot of trainer cards that are good in what is called GLC, or the Gym Leader format, Gym Leader Challenge right now, which is not necessarily a sanctioned event that's run by Pokemon, but a fun event that a lot of Pokemon players play in. And because of that, Phantom Forces is going to be a popular set for quite some time. Now, I'm not saying a lot of people are going out there cracking open Phantom Forces, but people who want to chase that full art Gengar, that Gengar EX, or maybe another variant of Gengar. There's also Manectric in here. There's some cool Pokemon in Phantom Forces. So it is going to be a set that is going to be broken, at least in like streams and things like that, for quite some time. You can see in October of 2023 is basically sitting at $33, right around $33.09, relatively flat up until about May, and then started taking off a little bit. Not a whole lot of sales for Phantom Forces. You can see there are some weeks where there's a lot more that sell than others, but that could just be a specific store that's getting bought out. Not for any negative reason, but it's just they have a certain amount of quantity available and somebody's just buying their total quantity for whatever reason. But you can see this one's jumped up about 12%, 12.25% over the past year, which is very strong growth, sitting at $37.64 currently, which is just off of its one-year high at $37.64. So continued growth on that one. Plasma Blast is probably, depends on what you classify as modern and vintage, but Plasma Blast probably the oldest modern set that's seen a lot of growth. So when I'm talking modern and vintage, usually I kind of use the separation of black and white. Vintage kind of moves forward every time a new set releases, so black and white in my mind is kind of like, this is probably the oldest modern stuff that we have, or you can call it ultra modern if you want to just focus on, hey, Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield. There's a lot of different labels that you can put on it, but if we just classify black and white as like in one of the older modern sets, Plasma Blast has made a lot of noise. There's some really cool cards in Plasma Blast, like the full art Jirachi, but it has been relatively inexpensive as far as black and white booster packs go for quite some time. It was right around $48, $50, somewhere around there, and you can see that in October of 2023 sitting right around its one-year low of $48.98 and staying relatively consistent at that point in January, and then even all the way up until April it was still sub $55, and then started to take off a little bit. Now it's jumped all the way up to $68.26 and continuing to gain more momentum. So it's up about 37% over the past year, so doing extremely well and continuing to climb, which is very interesting. Hidden Fates is also one we've talked about quite a bit on this channel. This one obviously from the X and Y gen. There's a lot of Hidden Fates booster packs out there because we have seen so many reprints of Hidden Fates, and that's what has me very confident that one day we will see more of a large reprint of 151. Hidden Fates got a very large ETB reprint almost a year and a half after the release, so we've only had one run of 151. That's why I'm kind of bullish on that there being a giant reprint. The big difference is Hidden Fates, even though it did get reprinted for that ETB, it did not impact pricing a ton, and that's something to remember and consider when you're factoring in what you expect 151 to do in the future. But Hidden Fates did get a very large reprint. It brought Elite Trainer Box boxes down, not to a necessarily respectable level, but a cheaper level than what they were at. And you could actually find Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes out in the wild at big box stores. Of course, during that time, the pandemic was going on. People were lining up in droves to try and buy as many Hidden Fates products as they could, or the Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection, or whatever they could find at Target, because Pokemon cards were so difficult to find. So Hidden Fates has been up and down all over the place depending on how much supply hits the market at any given time. In October of 2023, this was down to about $17.58 for a long time. Even during the pandemic, this was hovering right around $18, and now we've actually seen some organic, strong growth behind the numbers for Hidden Fates. This is going to be a set that's going to be cracked for a long time, because there is that Full Art Charizard GX. We actually just pulled one last week during our live stream that a lot of people are very excited about. I mean, it's a $400 card. It's a very, very popular card. The quality control in Hidden Fates is very strong, but this was also our first introduction to those Full Art Shinies, which makes a lot of people super excited about the set. In April of 2024, this jumped up to about $21.58, and Hidden Fates was moving really rapidly. It did retrace a little bit, and you can see in August it cooled off to just under $20, and now it's kind of come back a little bit. So it's sitting at $20.41 right now, still up about 15% on the year, but about $1 below where it was a few months ago as far as its one-year high. Roaring Skies has seen a lot of growth, specifically over the past 5 or 6 months. It's up about 25%. You can see in April it had dropped down to about $17.23, and now it's exploded up until $22.36. You do have some cool megas in here, like the Mega Latios. You do have the Shaman EX in here, which does not have nearly the value that it used to have, but more importantly, you do have the Mega Rayquazas in here. So you've got the Full Art Colorless Mega Rayquaza, which a lot of people, we've seen just huge growth off of that Mega Rayquaza, but you also have the Dragon Mega Rayquaza, which only comes in a regular art variant. Those are always going to be very popular. Roaring Skies was a great set, not just for the artworks, not just for the competitive cards from a Pokemon standpoint, but also from the trainer standpoint as well. Some really good cards in Roaring Skies. This one has jumped up almost 25%, sitting at $22.36 right now and continuing to climb. Black and White Legendary Treasures. This one's a really cool set because we did have that Radiant collection that was involved in it. You have some real bangers in this one as well. You get a lot of hits in Legendary Treasures, and because of that, it's going to be cracked for quite some time. In October of 2023, this was sitting at about $77.44. It's seen pretty much consistent growth throughout the entire year. In April, May, it stayed a little bit flat, and then in July started climbing up a little bit more, up almost 15% on the year, sitting at $89 and a penny. Shining Legends, one of the specialty sets that we got, wherein Pokemon was not nearly as popular. Pokemon was actually going in a downward trend when Shining Legends originally released. There was some excitement behind it because we got a reintroduction of those Shining Pokemon, like Shining Mew, Shining Jirachi. You had boxes that featured Shining Ho-Oh, like Shining Lugia. A lot of people were really excited about Shining Legends, but there wasn't a lot of competitive play in that set, so it was mostly only bought up by collectors, and since there wasn't as many collectors at the time as what there is now, Shining Legends ended up being clearanced out. Even when the pandemic started and the buzz of Pokemon really started getting really big again, and demand was all over the place, Shining Legends could be found on clearance shelves at Walmarts and places like that, in small amounts, mind you, but still was available and found by a lot of people. In August of 2024, this was down to $27.31, but if you look at what it's done over the past couple months, it's really shot up. Another set that's going to be opened a lot in the future, because people are going to be willing to pay $20, $30, $40 even for just a singular break, somewhere around that line. $31.50 is where it's currently sitting, up about 12.25% for the year, so doing really well. Same thing with Generations. This is another set that's going to be popular for quite some time, especially as we inch closer and closer to that 30-year anniversary. This was our 20-year anniversary set. It's up about 18.5% over the past year. In October of 2023, it was sitting at $40.81. Now it's closing in on $50, $49.68 is the current price point on this. Again, Radiant collection in this set means that there's going to be more pulls, a higher pull rate. It's got some really cool storyline cards, like that Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard. So Generations doing really, really well. Cosmic Eclipse has been at least restocked in different various collection boxes over the past couple of years. We saw a giant restock of Cosmic Eclipse packs overseas in like the Netherlands, where a lot of people were able to find Cosmic Eclipse. I don't remember what product it was. Somebody, I'm sure, in the comment section can tell me if it was a Pokeball tin or something like that. But Cosmic Eclipse started popping up again, which brought prices down a little bit. In April of 2024, it was down to $14.26. But Cosmic Eclipse, featuring Some really cool alternate arts, tag teams, things like that. Again, another set that's going to be popular for quite some time. It has rebounded nicely. Now you're looking at about 26.5% growth over the past year, from $14.26 up to an all-time high, sitting at $20.68 right now, and continuing to climb. Evolutions is another set that's going to be really popular for a long time, despite the fact that there's not any cards in the set that really have a ton of value. You do have the holographic Charizard, which has a fairly strong pull rate, selling for about $45. You obviously have the full art Mega Charizard. Other than that, really, it's just a throwback. It's just nostalgia, and a lot of people kind of moving on to 151 to get that nostalgia. The main difference is Evolutions has the original throwback to the actual base artwork from the original set that came out. So you can buy a booster pack of the base set for, you know, a few $100s, or you can just buy an Evolutions pack for $23.97, which is kind of the lore behind people wanting to open Evolutions to kind of relive their childhood in that capacity. You can see it was trending downward for quite some time. In June of 2024, it hit that one-year low of $19.98, and then climbed up considerably, jumped up to $25.34. Now it's backed off a little bit, currently sitting at $23.97, but still up about 18.5% over the past year. Another set that's probably going to be very strong for quite some time because there's going to be a lot of focus on it. Forbidden Light was very, very inexpensive compared to a lot of the other sets from Sun and Moon and XY. For a while, it was hovering right around $10, and you can see in October of 2023 it was sitting at $10.53, and then all of a sudden starting getting bought up like crazy because it was a little bit less expensive than some of its counterparts from the same generation. It jumped up to about $15.77 in April, but it's been relatively flat now for the last 6 months or so. Still selling fairly well, not as frequently as some of the other packs. There are some cool cards in Forbidden Light, but not as big as some of the other sets in the Sun and Moon block. Up about 48% over the past year, but if you look over the past 6 months, for the most part, it's been relatively flat, but still sitting at $15.65 right now, so doing extremely well. Fates Collide does feature that Alakazam. It's got that secret rare Alakazam in the set. Relatively inexpensive compared to the other XY sets that are out there. In April of 2024, it was actually in a downward trend, and it was closing in on that one-year low of $10.42, but then started taking off again. It jumped up about 27%, so it's sitting at $13.27 right now, which is an all-time high for that Fates Collide booster pack, doing extremely well. Then we've got Furious Fist, which is downward a little bit right now over the past couple months. There's not a ton in Furious Fist. There are some cool cards in there. Obviously, you have the Mega Lucario. This was really our first introduction to Megas because we didn't have Megas in the XY base set, at least not that I can remember. Furious Fist was kind of the first introduction to it. So you had like the Mega Heracross. You had the Mega Lucario. In October of 2023, this was sitting at $21.17. Saw some really strong growth really quickly where it jumped up about 25%, hit about $22.53, and now it's backed off a little bit, sitting at $21.17, but still about 21.5% growth over the past year. A couple modern sets that are doing really well. Jett Celebrations, which we've talked about. A lot of Celebrations products not doing well. The Ultra Premium Collection, for example, the Elite Trainer Box, really just not doing great compared to what I think people expected them to be at 3 years after the release, or yeah, a little bit more than 3 years after the release now. But loose booster packs doing extremely well. This is just a 4-card pack, so not a whole lot of cards in here, but pull rates are really strong. Obviously, it's got a throwback to a lot of the different generations of Pokemon, which is what's going to make it kind of successful for a long time as far as people wanting to rip this pack. In November of 2023, it was sitting at $5.86. It's up over 15% over the past year, which is really strong growth. Currently sitting at $7.61, just off of its $7.78 one-year high. Evolving Skies obviously doing Evolving Skies things right now, and it's seen a real big growth pattern over the past couple months. In November of 2023, it was at $7.24. It's over doubled in price over the past year. It's currently sitting at $16.32, which is an all-time high for this. Closing in on Hidden Fates pack prices. It's up about 103% over the past year, and continuing to grow as more and more people are always going to want to rip Evolving Skies, but it's a lot less available now because you're not finding it in collection boxes or places like that, unfortunately, so a lot harder to get. And then 151, obviously we've talked about this a lot over the past couple of weeks. We've seen giant growth pattern over the past week. There should be some relief coming, remember, with the Costco mini tins that are slowly releasing a little bit. We should be able to find those more in store at Costco, and then we do have that Blooming Waters collection, which is going to play an impact at least on the loose pack prices, even though we don't really know how it's going to be distributed yet, but that's not coming out until February. So depending on how much this grows before February is really going to play an indicator on how much this might retrace. So unfortunately, it might not retrace a ton if this pack continues to grow and grow and grow. In November of 2023, $5.39, right? It's up over 41%, almost 42% over the past year, sitting at $8.56 currently, just off of its one-year high or all-time high of $8.67. So a lot of booster packs seeing some really strong growth. Obviously, if you're somebody who likes to collect different things, maybe the art sets are a pattern for you to go to. Just kind of an idea out there that I wanted to throw out there. Obviously, focus on what's best for you, what's best for your collection goals. Just a reminder, we do have the Terrestrial Festival booster boxes on pre-order now. I'll leave that link in the description below if you want to order those. Thank you so much for everything, guys. I love you. We'll be back Tuesday with another video. Wednesday, we have our member-only stream. If you're a channel member, you are automatically eligible to potentially win that. So thank you so much for everything. If you enjoyed the content, hit that subscribe button down below. I'm sorry for talking fast. A lot of people say you talk fast. I do talk fast. I'm really bad at editing, so I don't want to edit out any pauses. That's really what it all boils down to. But I love you guys. Thanks so much for everything. I'll talk to you again on Tuesday. Comment, like, subscribe. Peace!